Good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining us for the mid-monthly Tribal Council meeting. I'd like to call us to order at 5:06 p.m. and ask Councilman Snowball to say our prayer this evening.
Aho, choka mauna, o kanchangra. Egono, egidode, hinige, nojo nijono. Monege, owo, hajane, honane, guneno, hinige. Wongrege, owo, hajane, guneno, hinige. Hamta eri mare wongre, nojo nijo hinige. Hamta eri mare wongre, ninaji hinige. Aho, choka, we have gathered here again to do the people's work. And I ask that you watch over us and you help us to keep our minds open and our hearts open, Choka, so that we can think of all those ones in the past and all those ones in the future and all those ones today, that we can care for each other that way, Choka, and do the people's work. Oh, thank you.
Thanks, John. Good evening, Council. We have an agenda that's prepared.
Madam Chair, we don't see the chambers, so I don't know who's in the chambers.
We have John, Isaac, Eric, and myself. And additionally, we have Natasha and Thomas Snow. And from IT, we have Matt, May, Garen, and Erica.
Thank you.
Council, we have several items in executive session today. I won't list off those items, but those folks know who they are. Under Food Sovereignty Task Force discussion appointments, I'd like to add a breakout item underneath that, and that is the Intertribal Agriculture Council, the 2021 Annual Conference, and membership for consideration. Are there any further additions to the agenda?
I have one thing that's going to be the men's shelter water heater.
Number 6.
Are you on under TC or under new business?
It's under TC.
Okay. Lorelai, have an item?
Madam Chair, we have 3 items for the executive session. And then I don't know if Brian, he wanted to add, does he want that under the executive session from his previous email today? Brian?
Yes.
Okay, so there'll be 4 different items in the executive session, Madam Chair.
Okay, thank you. Are there any further additions to the agenda? Is there a motion to approve the agenda?
Motion to approve.
We have a motion by Eric. Do you have a second? Second by Isaac. Discussion. Objection?
Tori's microphone sounds real muted.
Whose?
Tori's.
Am I muted? Is it muted?
Just, you gotta get it by.
So that motion passed. I wonder if you swap.
There we go.
Motion carried 7-0-0.
Much better.
Thank you, Brian. Our first order of business are the Tribal Council minutes, November 1st, 2021, regular Tribal Council meeting. Is there a motion to approve those minutes?
Motion to approve.
So moved.
We have a motion by Eric. Would you like to second that, Brian?
Yeah.
We have a motion by Eric. We have a second by Brian. Discussion. Objection to the motion. Motion carried 7-0-0. Our second set is the November 8th land meeting and enrollment update minutes. Is there a motion to approve those minutes?
Motion approval.
We have a motion by Isaac. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Eric. Discussion. Objection to the motion. Motion carried 7-0-0. Our last set, November 10th, 2021 CEO report meeting minutes. Is there a motion?
Motion to approve.
We have a motion by Brian, or excuse me, by Coley. Do you want to second that, Louis?
Yes.
Thank you. Discussion? Objection to the motion? Motion carried 7-0. There are no 5 signatures to ratify, so we'll move into new business. We have the architect engineering firm selection. Council, if you recall, this was a tabled item from the CEO report, and all the documents have been received and are for the consideration of the council. I believe there was a vote and the work group had selected an architect. Do we have Joy with us to talk about that, or should I share the good news?
I am on the phone if you can hear me this time.
Yep, we can hear you. Hi, Joy. I invite you to comment on that and share any information you'd like to provide.
Essentially, the work group had narrowed it down to Leo Daly and Bluestone, and still have a recommendation towards Leo Daly, but we didn't know if the council would like to see Bluestone continue on with the work that they started on the Boys and Girls Club.
Well, I have a comment before. I guess my comment is thank you to Joy and the work group that Ron that facilitated that process. I had an opportunity to join those calls that morning, and I didn't vote, but my vote was in line with what the group, what emerged from the group. And in regards to Bluestone, you know, I'm always pro our own companies, but my comment from that was that Leo Daly had a very impressive presentation, and then I learned that, you know, they're familiar with the tribe, and so I was really happy to see them have that to do that much work, and even the cultural elements I thought were well researched, and so it was just a nice presentation. My concern with Bluestone was, and it had been a comment on the call as well, was with the partnership and them, you know, building capacity under that partner, I just didn't know if that was the best fit for this project. Saying that, I wonder if they're so far along with the Boys and Girls Club, if it makes sense for them to finish that work. So those are my comments, and I just open it up for the council if you have a comment on that.
Question.
Eric has a question.
Leeway Daily, what's the estimated total construction cost? I see Bluestones, I don't see Leo Dailies.
The construction costs are not estimated yet, Eric. That's part of where the project is at this point, is that as we move through the ARPA projects that we were considering and putting forward, our staff made a best guesstimate on costs, but we also know that there's been a lot of change in construction costs over the last year or two. And so that's really a part of this first phase, is to get good sound estimates on what the projects will be. So I don't think I'm answering your question as specifically as you'd like, Eric. But I do know on the preliminary costs, I don't have them in front of me, but they were saying at least $1,000, but a little bit more than that. And then later, once we make our decisions to move forward on these projects, that's when those percentages would come into play that would be based on the size of the project. So you want to keep that in mind. This is where we're at right now, is kind of the first phase of the cost to get those preliminary designs and to get a solid cost on the projects.
Okay, Bluestone already has their estimated total construction cost, and I don't see Leo Dailies. I think that'd kind of be a important part of this first decision. If we don't even know what the cost is, and the ARPA funds. So just kind of something to think about, something I'm looking at. Thank you.
Ron, did you want to make a comment? You're muted, Ron. Is Ron self-muted? It's on your end, Ron. Okay. Well, while Ron unmutes himself, Joy, could you maybe answer, maybe just a clarifying question? So Bluestone has costs because Bluestone had already drawn for the Boys and Girls Club previous to ARPA and CARES and all that. Is that why they're further along?
Exactly, because they've had the conversations with the staff on what they want to have in the building, so they're a little farther ahead from that perspective.
So I got one comment, and maybe this helps us meet in the middle somewhere. I guess I can just, and I might be off base and have things wrong, but this is the gist of it. I know when there was new leadership at the Boys and Girls Club, the CEO had started looking for partners and meeting with Winnebago. Like, hey, Winnebago, so we're trying to do, how can you help us out? They had gone to HCI with a similar discussion and had just started looking for partners in town. And so through that, I believe that that's how we got to this point. And so I guess I'm saying is if Ho-Chunk and Bluestone were being a good community partner to the Boys and Girls Club, maybe we see it through with them. I just don't know how that bears on the other proposals that may have included Boys and Girls Club. Joy, can you talk about if that's even on the table?
Say your question one more time, Tori.
So we had mentioned that the Boys and Girls Club had done a lot of their own work outside of some of the new funding that we got, and that they were
Right.
moving towards their goal of a new building. And then the tribe was blessed with this new funding, and so they had already started working with Bluestone. So my question is it fair or reasonable that the council would consider allowing them to continue to work with Bluestone in the good faith that Bluestone had put forward as a community partner, not knowing that there'd be a bunch of money and I guess what I'm saying is Leo Daly is amazing and excellent, but they weren't working for free, with our Boys and Girls Club along the way. That's what I'm kind of saying. So
Right. And that's an important consideration that we also talked about. And one of the things that Leo Daly had actually shared with us, that they recognized that Bluestone had done some of that with the Boys and Girls Club, and they suggested that they would be willing to work with Bluestone to provide the support that where Bluestone was reaching out to include LSE and Olson for the engineering and some of the other support towards the project. So, but Leo Daly has offered that they would be willing to sub out the Boys and Girls Club, still be the overarching for all the projects together to work with them. So we've got a couple options in that direction.
okay.
To go with the Bluestone or have them fall under Leo Daly, or we can kind of mix things around, I guess.
Yeah, that's very gracious of Leo Daly. Appreciate them offering that solution. I just don't know if we want to make Bluestone their subcontractor, though. Okay, Ron's on the
Right,
phone.
that's also why we wanted to put that forward.
Okay, we got Ron. We're putting Ron up to the mic. Talk to us, Ron. Maybe if you put on speaker. Yeah, we can hear you.
I was just gonna mention what Joy had just said regarding partnering up with Leo Daly. And then also in response to Dusty's question about total cost for the projects, we have total dollar amounts not to exceed on all these projects. And that's what Leo Daly's not to exceed numbers are going to be. Joy probably could tell you what those numbers are.
Unfortunately, tonight I can't. I don't have them in front of me to be able to do that.
There's 15 million on the administrative building.
Yeah, on the admin building was 15 million. The Boys and Girls Club was 6.5 million. Let's see, the
Cultural building.
cultural building, I believe, was 3.5 million or 5 million, something like that, and the other building was another 5 million.
Another
And
question.
these numbers could get shuffled around, but the total number would not be exceeded.
Okay, thanks. Eric, do you have a follow-up question?
Yes, my follow-up question, does Leo Daly, do they know the max number of 6.5? Or are we waiting on them to put out their estimate first?
Well, actually what we're trying to do is we're trying to do the preliminary planning for the project so we can put budget numbers together. And then we make adjustments to the project to fit our total dollar amount.
Okay, because that's right now we're looking at 400,000 that's still open with Bluestone, and so that's a lot of money that our community could utilize in other places. And so I would hate to have somebody say that okay, the ceiling is 6.5 and have them go 6.49 just underneath that. So that's just kind of what I was wondering if Leo Daly knew the ceiling on that. But if Leo Daly knows the ceiling, then I would go with Bluestone. Thank you.
In their executive summary, they've got their estimated percentages for the total project. And then they also have actual amounts for the preliminary, the conceptual that we're working on right now.
Thank you.
I would like to see Bluestone continue on with the Boys and Girls Project and team up with Leo Daly.
Is that an option for them to team up?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Louis, did you have a comment?
Yeah. I went to one of the sessions with Leo Daly, and I didn't like the attitude. He tried to push us into a burial grounds and building a youth program. And they tried to put us into the children at the wrong level, which I didn't think was good for the children. In the course of the meeting, the second meeting was disaster. I wasn't impressed with Leo Daly. And I've been working with Leo Daly since the company built houses with a housing authority in the early 1970s. I don't think that the architect, as they said, has any cultural sensitivity. The two Oriental architects had cultural sensitivity. I don't like to work with people that are culturally sensitive. But they miss out on the heartbeat of tribal people. And I would go with Bluestone. Thank you.
Thanks, Louis, for sharing that. Louis, are you talking about that land up on the hill, that one?
Yeah,
Okay. Lorelai.
I just had a question from Ron and Ron. So you said that you would recommend Leo Daly and that they team up with Bluestone on the Boys and Girls Club. Is that what you said, Ron?
That's correct.
Okay, what about the other buildings? Are you saying the same for them with Leo Daly teaming up with Bluestone, or is it just Leo Daly on the other 3 buildings?
I would suggest just the boys and girls home.
And then Leo Daly for the other 3 buildings alone?
Yes, Leo Daly has the civil, electrical, mechanical, architectural. They have the entire team to do it. And we've worked with Leo Daly on our hospital project. They did the DDU. They did a bunch of the work over at the casino in the last 10 years. They've done a lot of work for us, and they've done a pretty good job every time. They're one of the biggest companies in the world.
Okay, so I support your recommendation, Ron. Thank you.
Are there any further comments on this topic? Okay. Do we have a motion with the recommendation of our work group to select Leo Daly and to have Bluestone work in partnership with Leo Daly for the Boys and Girls Club? That was the recommendation. Is anybody willing to make a motion to that extent?
I'll make a motion to recommend Leo Daly for the projects, and then also to work with a partnership on the Boys and Girls Club building.
So we have a motion by Isaac. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a second by Eric. Discussion. Objection to the motion.
object.
Call for the question. All those in favor of the motion, raise your hand or say aye. So we have John, Isaac, Eric, Lorelai, Coley, Brian. Opposed? Louis. Motion carried 6-1-0. Well, thank you, Council. Louis, I hear you, and you've expressed that, and I respect, what you shared about that property up there. Former Councilwoman Whitewater also shared her concern with that. So we have not forgotten that wisdom that you shared with us. Our next item is the Winnebago Gaming Commission evaluation. And Council, as you know, we had a meeting with our Gaming Commission, and one of the discussion items was on an evaluation process. And it's that time of year when we do Christmas bonuses and things. And there had been during one of our treasurer's report, a budget and the Christmas bonus, or the thank you check, I think, as it was noted, because the Winnebago does thank you checks, had become a topic of discussion, and how we want to make sure that all of our entities are receiving evaluations. And so that brought us to this discussion that the gaming commissioners had never been evaluated by the council, or the gaming commission chair hadn't been evaluated by the council, and we just wanted to firm up that process. And so with that, there was a motion where Councilwoman Decora had started to work with HR on a process, and she had worked on a draft. Lorelei, I would like to pitch it to you.
Okay, so council, in your packets, and I did forward this to the gaming commission last week, but I came up with a very simple evaluation. And I spoke with former gaming commissioner, Councilman Chamberlain, and with Treasurer Steeler to get the main responsibilities of the gaming commission under Title IX. So that's what I put in this evaluation. Starting with rating scale, 1 being does not meet requirements and 5 being outstanding. So the first item is attendance and availability when needed. Secondly, their compliance monitoring. Thirdly, new employee licensing and suspending or revoking licenses. Certifying gaming devices, enforcement, and taking all actions necessary or appropriate in order to carry out the duties set forth in Title IX. And it's my understanding, according to the policies and procedures of the Gaming Commission, that the Gaming Commission chair does the evaluation with the other 2 gaming commissioners. I'm not sure, does the chair do the evaluation of the compliance officers? And if so, not all of these would be applicable, but the Gaming Commission chair could write not applicable when it comes to the compliance officers. And then what this is based on is the Winnebago tribe, we are trying to clear up accountability amongst our workforce. So I'm aware that the Winnebago Tribal Organization does annual performance evaluations on every employee. And that's why I propose that with the Gaming Commission, we also need to do evaluation that on an annual basis. And that's why I pushed for this evaluation tool. But also in the Treasurer's report, the Gaming Commission proposed in their 2022 budget, they wanted to be paid thank you checks at $2,500 each, and that would happen twice a year, which to me was excessive. And so the council asked them to clarify $45,000 that they had for employee incentives in that budget. And it was clarified, 8 people would get $2,500 twice a year, and there was no method of evaluation or have they even earned employee incentive. So that's where this came from. But today, the gaming chairman sent the language that the council had asked for, that we wanted added into their policy on employee incentives. And you all got a copy of that. I forwarded it to you. And in there, the Gaming Commission chairman states that the employee incentives will be up to the sole discretion of the Gaming Commission, and I'm in total disagreement with that. They don't evaluate themselves, and they don't determine how they get an employee incentive. They are under the tribal council, and it's our responsibility to just set that amount if there's an evaluation. So those are my thoughts. Thank you.
Thank you, Lorelei, for taking this on. And often, we have discussions, and we all walk away from the table, and Lorelei is really strong in her follow-up, and so she was committed to bringing something back to the table. So does the council have any feedback on the discussion? Eric?
Question. I guess the way we're doing our workers out there, we're doing it as a annual employed bonus. The longer they work, the bigger their bonus. What is it that separates the gaming commission from that, or anybody at the casino from that? That's just a bonus, and I think they should get in where they fit in, regardless of the position. I think we should be going by how long that they have been employed there. Thank you.
Thanks, Eric, for sharing that. Is there?
Madam Chair, in
Yes.
2015, the tribal council did away with years of service.
He was saying that
So-
they should be evaluated based on their years of service. So at Winnebago,
I
the
thought
thank
you
you.
meant a thank you check for years of service.
Oh no. So the thank you checks at Winnebago, when they're presented, they show a dollar amount for years of service based on 0 to 6 months they get this, and so on and so forth. So Eric was commenting. Is that correct, Eric? You were saying that it should be based on something similar. Rona had also shared with us that Councilwoman Steeler had shared with us that the employees at Winnebago, if they have negative remarks or then their bonus is cut in half. And so trying to put something together that would honor the Gaming Commission as a separate entity, yet marry the two for lack of better words on how that should be facilitated. Because if it was thank you checks twice a year, that's different than what our employees get once a year at Christmas time. So kind of unraveling that discussion kind of brought us to this point. Are there any further comments? And if not, is there a motion to approve this form?
I got a
Oh,
comment.
John's got Isaac's got a comment, and then John does.
Lorelai, just so I'm understanding this right, so this evaluation that you got here with 6 things on it, you're comfortable with that?
Yes, I took those from talking with 2 former commissioners about the major areas that the Gaming Commission is responsible for, and that's how I built this.
Okay. That's my only question.
Thanks, Isaac. John?
I think I'm on board with moving forward. I just wanted to clarify that the Gaming Commission chair would be performing the evals, and then the Winnebago Council chair would be performing the eval on the chair. Is that?
That's the way we talked about it, and during the special meeting, that's the way we discussed it, but nothing has been formalized to that extent other than our own individual understanding.
Okay, and then that's the way I would support it. That the chair perform the evals, and then the chair of the council perform the eval, and the chair of the commission.
Okay, one other question then. I guess Lorelai, I'm just trying to understand this a little bit better. But so back to your comments that were stated earlier, you said that this evaluation here wouldn't necessarily fit the criteria for the chair to evaluate the chair. Is that correct?
Oh, not all of these are responsibilities of the compliance officers.
Okay.
So in any item that doesn't evaluate what the compliance officers, the chair, when he's doing, the Gaming Commission chair, when he's doing his evaluation, he can write not applicable.
Okay. So I guess what I was getting to was that do we need to have another separate evaluation sheet when it's chair evaluating chair?
I think it would still be the same because it would be the chair's impression of the gaming commissioner in his compliance of these 6 areas.
Okay, that's all.
Thank you, everyone. Is there any, Louis, do you have any comment?
I have a problem with understanding something. We're looking at the employees as inline workers. We're looking at management. We should base that evaluation on the economic value, but to make us money. It's just valuable to give them a bonus. If they lose this money, I don't see us giving them anything. You can do that with the management people. High profitability to a bonus. Thank you.
Thanks, Louis. So what I'm hearing is that although this is a regulatory body, they do operate under a budget, and they are responsible. To report on that budget, we hear from our commissioners every month. And it sounds like we might need to have something in here that speaks to their financial fitness. Lorelai, did you think of consider that or think about that on their budgetary aspect of the commission?
Yes. I think I was thinking that would come under this takes all actions necessary or appropriate to carry out the duties of set forth in Title IX. The reason I was thinking about that was because there were times there wasn't even a budget.
Yeah.
Since I've been on this council. And then we had to table it in order to wait till we could get a budget or a finance report. That's why I'm pushing so hard for an evaluation.
So are you comfortable? I guess council, would you like to see something that says financials something or other, or are you comfortable with the catch-all with all duties? So
I'm okay with adding fiscal accountability monthly and timely.
okay, so we'll just call it fiscal accountability. And the expectation, of course, is that it happened monthly. So is there any other feedback for this form? Eric?
Question: When we'd be looking at this accountability before or after the fiscal year? Preferably before, I'd imagine.
Ideally, we would have completed this process, but since the last month of the treasurer's report, that $2,500 line item was sort of flagged and led us to this discussion. So ideally, I think we should come up with the best time that we should be doing this on an annual basis. Right now, we're just trying to create a process so that we can facilitate that and that those folks could share in the holiday cheer that comes with these bonuses. So you are right. This is very reactive.
Coley has a comment.
Coley?
Thank you. I will and have to respect the form that was created, and I can't see a real good evaluation coming from chair to chair if not out there daily, and seeing, and example, what time Damon shows up, what time he leaves, not seeing that daily. There's time sheets and stuff. And these budgets and the gaming commission's been around for 30 years. And their budgets and their numbers, they're not hidden. And I can't see Damon ever trying to give somebody the runaround, about these numbers. They're there. They're ours. They're not private. They're not hidden for sure. So they were there, and they are there, and anytime you can go out there and ask them and look at them, bank statements, they're all there. They always been there. But I understand and I appreciate what's going on, and I look forward to these documents being set in stone, from here on out, and future councils, doing this and having accountability for everything, for all our programs, all our entities, all our companies, whatever we call it, thank you checks, bonuses, profit sharing. We those are our numbers. As long as the Winnebago tribe in Nebraska, we have the right to know these numbers. Any tribal member, as it was stated, our treasurer has these numbers, and this isn't private money. This is Winnebago tribe in Nebraska's money, our members. So it's a good step. And we got a little more work to go. To get accountability for everything, for the whole box. Thanks.
Thanks, Coley, for sharing that. So, my question to the council is this in the form that you're ready to approve it, or are there more thoughts that, Eric?
Yeah, my last question is, we're talking about 2,500 being pretty excessive. Do we have a new amount? I would be okay with 1,000, maybe 1,500. That's just what was brought up, and I agreed with that comment of 2,500 being excessive. So that's just kind of something that we didn't talk about yet.
Thanks, Eric, for bringing that up. The amount, the 2,500, we learned from discussion with our commission, was that it was a self-monitored process, and that it had grown over time, and that the commission and the leadership accepted that, and everybody went along with it. So the council never had, to my awareness, a motion that said it's 2,500. It's just through their own goodwill.
Okay, I'm saying that because, I don't know how many employees we have out there, but it just kind of seems weird to have 3 individuals making over $7,000 just to say they're doing a good job for a pat on the back. And I don't know. I would just like to have something for the other workers, or save some of that money. And we have a lot of community members that need help, that could, that other programs that they can go to. And so that's just kind of why I was, when it was brought up, saying that was 2,500 was excessive, to bring that down. So that's just kind of what I'm looking at. That we, out of all the workers, we only have 3 of these individuals making over 7,000 just for a pat on the back. So that's it. Thank you.
Lorelei?
Madam Chair, in all fairness, I think that we should keep their thank you check in line with what we did for our whole tribe over here. And I would be agreeable to the $1,000 for each of the gaming commissioners and the compliance officers. One time a year following an evaluation.
Thank you, Lorelei, for sharing that. So, thank you, council, for the good discussion. We have a form here that's been drafted. Is there a motion to approve this form? Brian? Are you motioning or
Can you hear me
commenting?
okay?
Yeah, we can hear you.
No. All right. I don't know if it's a comment or a question, and whoever can chime in with this, but is it, just to clarify the discussion that was occurring regarding the evaluation that's done of the commissioners themselves, that would have to be where the council evaluates the 3 commissioners. Now, I don't have a problem with the chair evaluating the commission staff, such as the compliance officers or anyone that works in the office, but the commissioners are appointees of the council. The Gaming Commission chair and the commissioners, or to say it more appropriately, the commissioners are not subordinate to the chair. They're not. They're equal appointees.
Thank you, Brian, for saying that. I think there's much like our council table, my job is to facilitate the meetings and to serve as an impartial facilitator. And so I don't perceive this as I'm above, any of my council peers. So that's an excellent point.
So I make a motion to approve this evaluation with the exceptions added on. Number 7 would be financial responsibilities.
So we have a motion by Isaac. Do we have a second? We have a second by Lorelai. Discussion. Eric.
Yes, would that be including the $1,000 cap for the annual cap instead of 2,500?
So what I'm doing now is we're kind of on almost three different things. So I'm just approving the evaluation. I'm
Okay.
not talking any numbers or anything of what they're going to be getting paid or what they should be getting paid. I'm just trying to move forward with, at least we have a sheet, something to evaluate them. And I don't know, maybe that's something that we wait and have that discussion in the treasurer's meeting. That way we can have all the numbers out and look at, and start looking at what's a good number and stuff. And I believe the treasurer's report is it's coming up anyway.
Next Friday, is it? Or
Yeah.
a couple Fridays?
Yeah, a couple
Friday.
Fridays.
So maybe there, and I'm not trying to push it off or anything. I'm just trying to get this evaluation sheet, because a lot of times too we get stuck on that. A lot of these things are set in stone, and so and it's good that Lorelai brought that up and wanted the evaluation sheet done, and looking for a tool is what she called it, that I recall in that meeting. So now she brought a tool to the table, and we're able to utilize that tool. And that doesn't mean that we can't go back and change that, but at the same time, start thinking about, what's a fair number, and how do we do that. So that's why I made that motion.
Thanks, Isaac. Any further comment? Objection to the motion. Motion carried 7-0-0. Thank you, council. In terms of timing and wanting, does the council want to schedule these in conjunction with the next treasurer's report? I just want folks to have this by Christmas, if that's the will of the council during that process. Eric.
I would be in agreement with that next the next meeting for that, to bring it up and get that. The sooner we can get it nailed down over here, the sooner they'll get it before Christmas.
Okay, I will work with the treasurer on that then. To add that to her agenda. Lorelai.
Are we in agreement that, on one hand, our understanding was that the Gaming Commission chairman evaluates the other two gaming commissioners and the compliance officers, and then the chair of the tribal council evaluates the gaming commissioner? But then Brian clarified that they're not subordinate to each other, and that maybe the tribal council should be evaluating the gaming commissioners because we appoint them.
Yes, Lorelai, thank you for bringing that back out. And so to this point, only the form has been approved. We did not make a decision on the amount and the structure of the evaluation. This is something that we can have more discussion and bring back the solution at the treasurer's report, or if anyone has the will to make a motion to that note, we stand ready.
I would just kind of throw this out there to the rest of the council. We get it ready for the treasurer's report, and then have that. I think that's enough time. There's at least a week anyway in there where we could have that ready, our own opinions on what that would look like rolled out. I think that would be how are you guys with that timeline of bringing it up at the treasurer's report with what you think it should be, the amount, and then the process? Are you guys good with that?
Well, I mean, I wanted to be able to do it at, like, you know, the second half of the treasurer's report. You know, we would spend time and do that and plan for them to come over.
Make it a item, first item, thing on the agenda, and then what the process is, and then put it on the treasurer's report past that.
If that's what you guys want to do, if that's
I'd be in agreement with that.
Lorelai, you want to talk more with council and then?
No, I'm good with that. I'm good with that. Gives us time to
Okay.
decide how that happens and an amount. For the treasurer's report. I'm good with that.
Okay, we're good with that then. Thank you, council. Our next item is in the packet is the Intertribal Agricultural Council, and oh no, excuse me. We've got the Food Sovereignty Task Force discussion and appointments. Lorelai and I had met with the Food Sovereignty chair, and she had let us know that she needed some updates and some appointments to the body, and Lorelai had worked to get those documents in the packet. Lorelai, do you want to talk about who we need to update?
Okay, tribal council, back in what's in your packet is back resolution 19-169. That tribal council merged used to be called the Food Sovereignty group, and they merged it into the Food Sovereignty Task Force. Oh, it was called, the tribal council had wanted to start a Winnebago Food Sovereignty Committee, and they had commission bylaws. And then on this date in July of 2019, they changed the name of the committee. They changed our name to the Food Sovereignty Task Force. And there was never ever any clarification that there would be bylaws by this task force. And so they appointed Janelle Decora, Lorelai Decora, Sue McLaughlin, Victoria Goodin, Vincent Bass Sr., Isaac Smith, and Jean Gilpin to the task force. And it says that there's supposed to be 2 tribal council members, the chairman and the secretary as ex officio members of the Food Sovereignty Task Force. That never happened by that tribal council. No one was appointed. So since then, I was appointed because I was under the health department. So since then, I'm no longer on this committee. And this woman, Victoria Goodin, is no longer with us. And Vincent Bass Sr. has retired. Isaac Smith is no longer a part of the groundskeeper, the garden, and Jean Gilbert has gone on to another. So the Food Sovereignty Task Force chair is Janelle Decora, and she came and met with us, and they are requesting that the tribal council appoint Aaron Lapointe, Andriana Sharpback, and Trey Blackhawk to the Food Sovereignty Task Force. And then they would join Sue McLaughlin, who's on there from the health department. She's a registered dietitian. And so there would be 1, 2, 3, 4. But one of the other partners in this task force is the Little Priest Extension Program. And Oh, and also Aaron Lapointe was given signature authority to sign tribal council leases on behalf of the task force. So I'm wondering if there shouldn't be at least one more person besides Sue McLaughlin that's on there that could represent the partners in this entity, like from the Little Priest College Extension Program, either Stuart Fisher or Janice Woodard, because they're an integral part of the partnership.
Thank you, Lorelei. Does the council have a motion to appoint those folks?
What were the three names again? Trey Blackhawk,
Trey
Aaron
Blackhawk,
Lapointe?
Aaron Lapointe, Adriana Two-Ballin Sharpback, and Janice, and a representative of the Little Priest Tribal College Extension Office, which is made up of Janice Woodward and Stuart Fisher. You're on mute, Lorelei.
And Sue McLaughlin from the health department.
So, is there a motion to that effect?
I'll move that.
We have a motion by Brian. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Louis. Discussion. Lorelei.
Would that be Janice Woodard or Stuart Fisher from Little Priest?
I guess.
Stuart's in the meeting, so might as well. I don't understand the selection between Little Priest's processes, but might as well pick the ones that are here.
Okay, so Stuart, you're in, Stuart.
Lorelei, are you done with your comment? Okay, Isaac.
So that's filling all 6 positions, correct?
Yes.
Okay, that's all.
We have a motion. We have a second. Any further discussion? Objection to the motion. Motion carried 7-0-0.
The administrative staff will need the updated bylaws or any documentation that they have.
Okay, thank you.
Did you get that, Stuart?
Okay, our next order of business, I added it, but it's actually in the packet. And that was the Intertribal Agricultural Council. And last week at our land meeting, when we got to talk to our Ho-Chunk Ag and our Tribal Farm Director, we talked about some of the upcoming projects, some of the progress at the farm, and it was just really good to sit down with our agriculture team. And one of the things they talked about, or one of the things that we talked about, were trying to reinvigorate the mobile meat processing discussion and how the barriers that we had before us, whether it be timing, funding, barriers, we wanted to bring it back up and figure out how we can get that. Aaron had expressed a willingness to work with his team to continue to shepherd this, work on a business plan. And at the Intertribal Agriculture Council, which Aaron and his team are attending, he shared that there's a session called the Roadmap USDA Custom Mobile Slaughter. And so we learned that the Osage Nation has successfully got one. And we want to learn, and I don't know if they're the presenters or not. It says Stacy M. But I'm really looking for tribal council engagement on how we get this. We need somebody to take interest in this. We need somebody that already has expertise in some of these areas. And so I had thought about John and his work with the buffalo, and how that conversation started in wildlife and parks. So I'd just like to recognize John and share any thoughts he may have on this.
Yeah, I think it's a good plan, and we got good people that are keeping it alive. And I'm willing to attend the IAC and attend that session and become part of that group that's keeping this dream alive. I mean, I think it would be awesome if we had our own processor and that we could feed ourselves, and it goes along with the food sovereignty part of that, that we could process our own animals here in our community. Thank you.
Thanks, John. And John is involved and holds a seat with the Intertribal Bison or Buffalo? Buffalo Council. So I approached John about this right before the meeting and just tried to update on what I was going to mention. And he shared that he has opportunity to attend through his role with the Buffalo Council. So what I'm looking for is a delegation of tribal leaders that would be interested in taking this up, working on this, making this your baby. And we already have John who's done a lot of work in this direction. So I'm trying to seize this moment, and it's in a few weeks. I know it's bad timing with the holidays. I've already approached a couple council that aren't willing to travel and don't have the desire to attend this conference, but are all in terms of the project. So I'm asking for two things. The first one is I'm asking for a motion so a delegation will attend this and identify themselves as that they have an interest in this. And the next thing that I'm going to bring to the general council meeting is the request for the Winnebago tribe to join and be a member of this. And the great news is it's free. That the board of directors voted that there are no dues or membership fees, and through the pandemic, but in 2021, there's a membership pack that I did not realize, so I didn't put it in here. That would have to be at general council for consideration, but is there a motion? Does anybody want to go?
Make a motion to send down any tribal council member that would be interested in going.
Thank you, Eric. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Isaac. Discussion.
Louis got discussion.
Louis.
We dealt with this issue when I was president in the tribal barking cooperative. Linton Bray and Marion River worked at getting a mobile plant. There's problems with the mobile plant. In Nebraska, you can take animals down in the field and take them to the facility. In the other states, you can't do that. You need federal inspection. You need a facility that the kind is stronger to handle buffalo. You need space for trucks go in and out of there. You need a market. One market they found at North Dakota that they had packages of like Philly and Buffalo. They were packaged in bags. Put the bag in hot water, heat it up, and serve it. It's very popular. You got to develop a market for your product. You cannot rely on one tribe to provide out the buffalo you need to make it profitable. The plant also has to look at processing other animals, beef and pork, to expand your market. You gotta talk to Fred, because he encountered a lot of problems being the first one. You got to get the blessing of USDA to get inspectors. Otherwise, you won't be able to sell it on the commercial market. So there's a lot of issues that have to be dealt with. And I'm willing to participate. even though the Buffalo program is never complied with, tried the motion talk with me. I'm still waiting. Thank you.
Thanks, Louis. You're the original OG Buffalo guy. We'll definitely need your guidance on this. And you mentioned a really good thing, and you talked about the market and needing to be mindful of that, and that that there could be opportunity beyond just looking to feed our own community. There could be a revenue stream, jobs for local tribal members. So all good stuff.
I got one thing, Tori.
Isaac.
So just for the rest of the council, I guess that may not be up to date, but so a part of this process would be, I guess for the membership too, would be to go out there and learn about this, and then we all already got some prices on what an actual mobile slaughter trailer would look like and how much it would be. Looking at close to almost $1 million, but that's just for the unit itself. So one of the things would be purchasing that unit, learning how to run that unit, and then also having somebody take the training on being USDA certified. Now, when we get into inspector, the inspector part of it, to become an inspector in the USDA is a lengthy process. But I'm not saying that it's out of our reach. But in the meantime, if we got to that part, and that part of it, one of the things that we could do is actually look at the market of shopping for doing a contract with an inspector, and then sitting down and finding out how many times we would have to be inspected and what all that encumbers. Moving forward with the project, one of the things that we're looking at is also trying to expand the buffalo pasture. That's one of the things that need to also be thought about and brought up as we move forward with this. And then rotating out different herds with different breeds. Once you move forward with that, there's a lot of work that has, but I think that we with the help of Louis' knowledge on it, I think that we could be able to move forward and get this done. We do have a lot of people that are willing to help out when it comes to the food sovereignty stuff, just because of how the world is today. And so I'm really grateful that we have membership and also current council members that have some knowledge of this and have the compassion to work forward. So I just wanted to throw that out there, kind of an update a little bit of maybe those members that are listening out there. Just wanted to share that a little bit with you. Thank you.
Thanks, Isaac, and thank you to the council and your willingness and support to move this forward. So any further comment on the motion? Objection to the motion? Motion carried 7-0-0. And I'll bring the full packet at General Council for council consideration. At that time, I would also, in that packet, there's opportunity to advance issues or things. And so some of the issues that you raised, Isaac, the issue of the buffalo being an exotic animal, you know, we can talk about what council wants to put forward. Okay, next one. Winnebago Tribe of Nebraska MOU extension with Nebraska Audubon. Do we have a representative from Nebraska Audubon?
Yes, I'm here. My name is Jason St. Saber.
Hi, Jason. Thanks for being with us.
Yes,
Did
thank
you
you for the invite.
Talk about your request.
Sure. Thank you all for letting me speak with you this evening. I very much appreciate it. Many of you I got the chance to meet almost 2 years ago now when we first started into this partnership and had the MOU created. I am with Audubon, Nebraska, and work specifically at Spring Creek Prairie Audubon Center, which is just south of Denton, about 15 minutes southwest of Lincoln. And Audubon nationally, one of our large missions is creating bird-friendly communities, and especially around using native plants on the landscape with communities all across Nebraska. So we had come up and presented. This was end of 2019, I believe, And then as we got going, the project was approved and we created the MOU. We started working on projects with Little Priest Tribal College Extension and with Denise Jensen on an EPA project. And we had some things ready to go. And then, of course, COVID happened. So we weren't able to do as many of the in-person community projects as we'd liked. And so now that our MOU is about to run out its time, it had a time that would go through February this coming 2022. We would just like to ask the council's approval to extend that, to maybe look back at it and see if we need to amend it before we extend it. Because now that we are a little more able, I've been talking with Janice over at Extension and with Denise again, and we want to get back to being able to do those projects. And we also have some funding to hire a student, possibly from Little Priest Tribal College, to help locally lead those projects. So we're excited about it. We just wanted to come back and ask to see if we could extend or if we needed to amend that MOU so we could continue working with y'all. And yeah, that's kind of the gist of it. I would love to take any questions because I went through that pretty quickly.
Well, thank you. Thank you, Jason. We have a question from Councilman Armel.
Yes, good evening. Thank you for being here, Jason. This is really good to see somebody coming into the community and trying to do something good for our people. Have you found anyone from the college that would fit this in any of the education courses up there, or have a group of people, someone you would want to pick from up there?
We're not quite that far yet. I would like to work with Extension, and we've had meetings back in 19 and early 2020 before COVID with some of the staff. At that time when we first started, we did not have the funding to be able to hire the position. So it's new. So we haven't quite started that. So I haven't looked at anyone specifically. That we would do probably in the new year. We wanted to come first and make sure before the MOU ran out that we asked permission and made sure that we let you know what we had hoped we would like to do and see if that was approved or if there was anything on the existing MOU that we would need to amend to do that.
Okay, that's really good to hear. I'm in support of this, to have one of our enrolled membership to go down there and learn something new and bring that information back home. Thank you.
Isaac.
Hi, Jason. I guess on the MOU, I was kind of looking it over here as I was listening to you guys go over some of the things that you're sharing with each other. What kind of extension, I guess, how long are we thinking anyway?
Yeah, so our Audubon Nebraska is part of Audubon nationally, and our fiscal year runs through July of next year. So I would at least like it, if possible, to go through July of 2022. But if it's easier to do that full year, calendar year, I believe it runs out in February. So if you extended it for a year, that would take us to February 2023, and we would certainly, I think, be done before then. So that would cover it. But I think a minimum would be, what is that, 6 or 7 months, so that it runs out July 1 of 2022 at a minimum. Does that answer your question, Isaac? I forgot to mention too, I wanted to let folks know, during COVID, we didn't want to just drop the partnership either. So I hope you guys got them. I know we sent them up there. We did work with Blue St. Cyr at the Renaissance program. We wanted to try to refocus, still figure out what we could do while we weren't able to be up there planting native plants. We created a plant list and a bird list in both Wchs and English language. We used Blue's expertise to help us get the language correct on those. So those brochures should be up there. I know Extension should have them. The tribal college has them, and I think some of them should have come to the council members at that time.
Okay. So I was looking at you said July 1st, 2022 would give you a good time frame. And then that would also be, you're talking about hiring a position to help out going through the college.
Yes, it wouldn't need necessarily to be there, but that is where we thought it would be the easiest. We'd like to work with sort of a young leader to get some experience, to get some salary as well, get that, and be local. That could help us if, like I can't always be up there, but we can train and like work on the project together, so they would be leading it with the community instead of it being me coming up and telling people what to do.
Okay. And then question for Stuart. Have you guys thought of who would be supervising this person or this position or anything like that?
We haven't really been privy to that much information, so we have not, but I would say through the environmental science or the try to stay in line with the cultural aspect of it. Somebody from maybe Cassie Kitchion's class would probably be the obvious choices. Our ag program isn't quite in place. I believe they're looking at next fall. So I think because of the time period, we'd probably be looking at the environmental science program and somebody from that department.
Okay, so it kind of sounds like you're saying that they would be in almost somewhat of an employee of the college. Is that kind of what you're saying?
Well,
So I gotta go.
because
Excuse me.
internships and stuff, but they're looking to hire somebody, that would have to be examined how that would work, but it would be a student more likely rather than an employee. The employee would be somebody they hire from that program and have a separate kind of a contract with them. Be like an after school program or something that somebody would hire out of that current LPTC program.
Thanks, Stuart. Jason, so the agreement is with the Winnebago tribe, but the working relationship is with Little Priest Tribal College Extension Office. Am I understanding that correctly? Or just with Little Priest?
That was one of them. We were planning to originally do some native planting around the new Village Market building at that time, end of 2019, early 2020. That may have already happened. I hear from Jan, like some of it may have happened. There were some possibilities of projects at the college as well.
Okay, so
we were also planning. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Okay, because I was going to say that's where I think maybe some of the questions might be coming from, is that Little Priest is a partner in a site, but who does any functions that you do, who receives the funding or who administers the funding on our half? Is there any exchanging of funds that the tribe or Little Priest manages on behalf of Audubon, or?
Not yet. That
okay.
was originally, no, it was all, we had the funding to be able to come in with resources and help on projects that were identified as they would be good for something. And we had, again, we talked to, I think it's Denise Jensen, on some bank stabilization along the creek.
Okay.
We had just started, but we got nowhere yet because of COVID, but there was some wetland educational projects around the schools. That was a possibility as well. So there were lots of possibilities, and we just weren't able to do those.
Okay.
This is the first time that the funding for a position, and again, apologies to Stuart, we haven't even had a chance to tell him this might happen yet because we just found out. So right now that would still need to be worked out. We just wanted to make sure the tribal council was aware that we wanted to come back, we wanted to start projects again, and we wanted approval on extending the MOU to do that.
Okay, well, thank you for sharing with us the good news. You heard it first here that from the Nebraska Audubon. So with that, I don't sense any changes to the MOU based on the council's comments. But the questions surrounding the position, the reason why, I'll just explain this to you. The Winnebago Tribe of Nebraska has its own human resource department and functions and hiring and policies and procedures. Little Priest Tribal College has a board of directors and a separate HR and hiring process, different policies. So that's kind of where the question is where does this position live and who's over them?
So my understanding, and I can correct this with our executive director of Audubon, Nebraska, depending on your needs or wants, what would be the easiest. But my understanding would be if we chose Little Priest Tribal College to be where we would look for the student that might be interested, we have a certain pot of money that then Audubon, Nebraska would figure out. They would invoice us, we would give that to them, and it would be under either the tribal college itself or the extension, if they're different or if they're to pay that student.
So that sounds more like something out of their workforce or their student, what do you call that? Student, the student workers. So Stuart, is this a President Patil question? You know, I don't know if that you are able to represent the college in this capacity.
That part would definitely be moving up the food chain for me. But what I could, but yeah, like most of the work goes through, I think Yati kind of is the person responsible out of the financial aid department. She's got a pot that she worked with. So I think this is even outside that purview. And that would be probably a negotiation between Audubon, LPTC, and the tribal council as to who would administer that. It wouldn't be really any money. It would be kind of like our grant that we have a pot of money, they draw down, they pay me, Janice, whatever. That money is never touched otherwise. It just sits in the pot. So it would be just kind of a thing like that, where that all it would be that person being paid for. And so if that would be, you know, there's just, that would be something that would really have to be negotiated, I believe.
So, thank you for that. We can talk about the mechanics of how this is gonna work. We just definitely appreciate your partnership with the Winnebago tribe. And so just on
Hey, Tori.
Yes.
Oh, sorry, I didn't want to interrupt anybody.
Oh, hi, Linnell. Oh, great. We have Linnell. She's on the Little Priest Board of Directors, so we're very lucky to have Linnell with us. Linnell, did you want to comment on this?
Yeah, I did. I don't know too much about the MOU, but the Little Priest Board, we do have a meeting scheduled for this Wednesday. If that's something, I'm sorry, I didn't get your name, Jason. If that's something you want to present to the board for more discussion, and if I guess we can start the conversation on working out the mechanics. If you would like to.
That would be great. How could I get you? What's the easiest way? Can I put it in the chat? Am I allowed to put it in there? My email, and if you'd email me info, I would join in on that and be able to explain and start that.
That would be great. I can send you an email after the meeting, and then we'll just start from there. And council, if we need further action if the board needs further action from the council, we can present it to the council after Wednesday's meeting.
That sounds good, Linnell. So Linnell, are you suggesting that we hold off on approving this until the college can have a discussion with the partners?
That's totally up to you guys. I just don't know too much about it. If this is really something that needs to go through the college, I just
no, you make a great point that if the college is an existing partner and may have a role of facilitating this, I think it'd be great to have the language in this MOU, and that we all have an understanding from the very beginning on who does what, and and so thank you, Linnell, for making that point. Jason, is there a time when you need this approved? I mean, since it's already expired.
It hasn't. It expires in February, so we have a little time.
This says 20.
It should say at the very end, it should say it is good for 2 years after when it was signed, which was February of 2020. So
Okay.
it would go till February 2022.
Thank you. And so the presentation is asking to extend this MOU to July 1, 2022. And I'm hearing that the college is going to have a discussion that might be helpful on how we firm this up. Is there a motion to table this document until the outcome of the discussion with Little Priest?
Make that motion.
We have a motion by Eric. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Louis. Discussion. Objection to the motion. Motion carried 600. Or 500.
I wanted to say something to Jason.
Sure, Louis.
Yes, Louis.
I don't see the buffalo past and the flock of birds being flying by past the buffalo. He circled around and landed on the buffalo's back. We're having a
Nice.
field day eating insects. The buffalo were having a good time because the birds were taking those nasty insects out of it. It was the interaction I have never seen before. It was amazing. I didn't know what kind of birds those were.
That's great. I'm guessing they're cowbirds. At least that's what I call them. Very cool. Thanks for sharing that, Louis.
You better call them bison birds.
We should, yeah. They're not really cowbirds.
Thanks, Louis. In Winnebago, we call them bison birds. So we've got a motion and a second, and that motion was actually 600, not 500. So thank you, Jason. Stewart, did you have a comment?
When we were discussing this earlier, a couple years ago, there was some discussion of the Elder Garden in the southwest corner of that as basically is wetland. It's a drainage area. It's got cattails. It's got a bunch of plants that would exist in a wetland area. And there, and my dream would be to have an outdoor classroom there. So we talked to WPS about that and being included in it. So that might not be a bad thing to somehow, if there's no MOU with WPS, that some discussion with them to include them would be great, because it's an ideal place. It's close enough to town, and it can be accessed by Little Priest students and Winnebago public students. Just my dream, I guess, but it's something that's achievable.
Thanks, Stuart, for sharing that. We definitely want to keep that dream alive, and the work at Little Priest in conjunction with our land department, and just looking to see what areas are that the tribe has a willingness to develop in that area, in that way. So, thank you for your dedication. So, Jason, it sounds like Linnell, is our CAO, is going to work with you to link you up with the board of directors. So we appreciate that. Isaac.
Great, thank you.
We're gonna we tabled it until Little Priest board is gonna have a discussion with them to talk about kind of what way that plays out. Then we'll put that in here. Okay. All right. Thanks. Thank you, everyone, for that agenda item. The next agenda item is the WCHS board appointments. I was looking for it in the packet. Tribal Council, my seat on the Winnebago Comprehensive Healthcare System has expired, as well as Mr. Jim Rixner. At the last board meeting, a motion passed for us both to continue in our role if it's the will of the tribal council. And so that is on the table for, and the reason, usually this happens at our reorg meeting, but since that'd been postponed 2 times, the board is not fully seated right now once those expired. I talked with Lorelai and I talked with Rona, and you know, they tell me a lot of things about the hospital all the time, and so I let them know that if the council had the thought that they would not want me on the board, you know, I would not feel hurt, but I do wish to continue this work. I think it's important work. I've been sticking with it over the past 5 years, and it's been good. And I can do better. I could report more, and I talked to Danella today about, is there a way that we could pull out what the council wants to hear about on the more regular basis. So always looking for ways to improve and how I serve you guys. So with that, that's what it is. Lorelai?
Madam Chair, I want to say how much, as a tribal member, I appreciate Mr. James Rixner for serving these past years on behalf of our Winnebago people in our new healthcare system. And I also appreciate your leadership serving on our board, our hospital board. So, and I think you are both a good fit for our board and continuity in its board direction. So I'm going to make a motion to appoint James Rixner and Victoria Kitchan back to the WCHS Board of Directors.
Second.
We have a motion by Lorelai, and we have a second by Brian. Discussion.
Is there
One thing that I noticed, that we have a good board,
the length of term?
important for us to
They're 3-year terms.
keep with that board until we get certification back. I like the recommended appointments.
Thanks, Louis. I'd also, you know, give Coley some props too. Coley's our sitting board member. His term hasn't expired yet, and it's one of the, probably, I say, the toughest board to sit on, because our healthcare means everything to us, and it's a hard board to sit on, but there's good work going on over there, and we just have to talk more about the positive things sometimes. So I appreciate the motion and the second and the support. Any further discussion? Eric?
With this motion, will that be a time motion for the length of the stay on the board, 3 years, or will that just be until there's a full seated board, and then we'll hand it back over to them?
So, yep, thanks, Eric, for that question. We are a fully seated board. It's just that 2 of those seated boards have expired this month, and so we have to, before the next board meeting, reseat those. And our tribal council orientation takes place after the board meeting. That's on Friday. And the terms, I believe, are 3 years. Usually the tribal council positions coincide with their years of service. So mine, I only have 2 years left. So I would forfeit, you know, that once I wasn't on the council anymore. So, any further questions or comments? Objection to the motion? Motion carried 6-0-0. Okay, the next order of business, we have, under old business, we have the Arpa Emergency Response Guidelines. Okay, the last vote was 7-0-0. Erica can count. Better than me. Okay. Do we have a presenter for the ARPA emergency response guidelines? Lorelai?
Madam Chair, I'm not presenting, but these guidelines were presented to us by the Physical Resource Department. And our CFO was on travel at the time, so we were wanting clarification because these are ARPA dollars. Of course, we appreciate the Physical Resources Department for coming up with guidelines to serve the housing repair and renovation needs of our tribal members under these funds. But what we didn't have an answer to at the time was, how do we take care of the off-reservation tribal members with these funds for their homes, renovation or repairs? And it still isn't answered yet. The CFO, I talked with him today, and he said there isn't an off-reservation project that's even been drafted. So it's hard. I know that we have such a need on our on-reservation, but at the same time, we have to have a part of this be to serve our off-reservation tribal members. So I'm not sure how to proceed here. If we approve the emergency or the on-reservation guidelines, which are good guidelines, what would be the allocation to the on-reservation from the total dollars? And those aren't clear yet. When we were talking about the homeowners assistance fund, the HAF plan, we agreed as a council that because those are counting the total membership, that some of those HAF plan dollars need to go for on reservation and some need to go for off reservation. And it's the same in this case too, because the ARPA funds do come from the total enrolled membership. So I'm not sure how to proceed, Madam Chair. We motion to table this till tonight, but we don't have a plan together to address the off-reservation needs of our tribal members.
Okay, thanks Lorelai for the reminder. Now I know. So Lorelai introduced the discussion, and last week at the CEO report, there were guidelines and a position approved on who will be facilitating all the applications and the work and the contractors to do some of these projects. And the question had come up, and a very valid question, about are off-reservation tribal members eligible? And as the policy was written, it was just for on-reservation, and that wasn't at the fault of our team. It's just been consistent with our other programming that is offered on the reservation. And to Lorelai's point, the calculations on what we received, we self-certified our enrollment numbers at that time that we submitted our application, and that it is true that these funds are made on behalf of every enrolled tribal member that we counted. But the caveat to that, I think, is that even with that said, they didn't give us enough money to serve all 5,000 tribal members. So the amount of funding that we have is to facilitate, both on and off res. And so I don't think there's any harm in including off reservation. It just means that there'll be less projects funded, perhaps, or not. And it would require additional work to figure out the criteria on remote contractors, and that if there was agreement on what work would be paid for and how we would identify and select those contractors, or if a person would just get work done and then submit the bill to the tribe. So what Lorelai's stating, those are the kind of the things that need to be worked out, and I think that the council has a willingness to talk about it. We just have not circled back with our physical resources department with that directive, because at the time they came forward with on res only. So good discussion. It's a difficult discussion to have when you only have $1 to go 5,000 over 5,000 ways directions. So that's the discussion, but we need to be thinking of our relatives off the reservation. Some as close as 20 miles north or south, maybe 7 miles south, that might be a homeowner and want to participate. So, not to table the table, Lorelei, but do you want to? We need to do, Lorelei.
I was thinking we need to have a conversation with Billy that works with the ARPA dollars and with the CFO and with physical resources to put our heads together on what would be an equitable way to provide the home repairs or renovation for our members. So maybe we could table this emergency resources until the treasurer's report.
Okay.
Where we've had time to talk about this.
Okay. Would you like to procedurally? I don't know how you say that. Do you motion to table it again so that it remains on the table? That didn't make sense. Okay. So, Lorelei, are you motioning to further table that?
Yes.
Okay. Do we have a second? Until the treasurer's
Second.
report. Second by Louis. Any further discussion?
We could check with housing. We run a program that paid for utilities for off-reservation people. And we have a list of names in the Sealand area we could contact. That might be helpful.
Thanks, Louis. That would be helpful to gauge, or perhaps Lorelei, we reach out and say, how many tribal member homeowners do we have living off the reservation? Maybe it's manageable and we don't have to be talking about stretching the dollar. Maybe it's something that is just so doable, but we haven't looked hard enough. So, good stuff. So we have a motion to table. We have a second. In further discussion. Objection to the motion. Motion carried 7-0-0. I counted you in that one, Eric. We just tabled this motion to the next treasurer's report. Yeah. Okay, our next order of business is the Christmas gift baskets. I invite Linnell to comment. She was going to work with our food distribution director on some options.
Good evening, everyone. So I hope everyone got a copy of the proposal. It's just a one-page sheet. I tried handing them out to everyone today and emailing. I know they weren't included in the packet. Tatanka worked on getting quotes, and we received a final quote today from Hy-Vee. She did look at, there's two different options available. It will be a total of 800 Christmas baskets to be purchased and distributed through our food distribution program. It will be for all tribal member head of households, for both on and off reservation, the same as we did the turkey distribution. The budget is the same. Each basket will not exceed $60. It'll be $60 per basket. And this year, Tatanka had a great idea of trying to change the food items in the basket instead of having the same turkey and ham kind of Thanksgiving food items. So she did have another option, which is ribs, as well as several other items in the basket. So there's option 1 and option 2, and there was there's a lot of delays on food items right now. I believe frozen pies are not as available, so there is a shortage. But Hy-Vee is willing to, we can substitute items as long as it doesn't go over the $60. So there's two options for review and approval.
Thank you, Linnell. I'm just going to read these and make people hungry. Option 1 includes ribs, Kobe cheese, ham, au gratin potatoes, frozen pies, dinner rolls, pickles, olives, corn, crackers, summer sausage, and the packaging to put that together. Option 2 includes turkey, ham, stuffing, instant potatoes, pumpkin pie, green beans, cream of mushroom soup, fried onions, cranberry sauce, brown and serve rolls, and the packaging to put those together. Option 1 with the ribs is a total of $46,164.83. Option 2 with the turkey and ham is $50,880.76. Does the council have discussion or comments on these options?
So the money is there already for this, for both
Yes,
options?
the council has budgeted for and sponsors this.
Oh, okay.
It's just, we're really thankful that Tonka was thinking of what we gave out for Thanksgiving, what people get maybe, and she just thought it'd be nice to switch it up.
Make a motion to approve option 2 at the amount of $50,880.76.
We have a motion by Isaac to utilize option 2 for a total of $50,880.76 to be paid out of the tribal council budget.
Second.
We have a second by Eric. Discussion. Objection to the motion. Motion carried 7-0-0. Thank you, council. Oh, the next item I took care of already because I didn't even look. The second item under tribal council items is the men's shelter water heater. Isaac?
So today I was contacted by Hena Bena, and he was letting me know that the men's shelter hot water heater went out, and so they don't have no hot water over there. And so they looked up at Menards how much it would be to replace that. As far as just the water heater itself, would be $441. So I was looking to see what the council wanted to do with that. And the reason why I bring it to the table is because the men's shelter and I believe the women's shelter don't actually have budgets. And I don't know if that was part of their original agreement or how that actually started with maintenance on it, or what the tribe was going to do at the time. I don't really remember right offhand. So I just wanted to bring that up. I was talking with him, and he said that facilities would be willing to replace that, but they didn't know who was going to pay for the actual water heater. So I just wanted to bring that up to you guys.
Okay. Thanks for Isaac for bringing it forward. $441 is a lot of money, but it's not a lot of money in terms of, you know, the checks that and the payments that the tribe makes on behalf of the people. And those of our men relatives over there, you know, not on their feet right now. I think the least we can do is provide them warm water. My question is the board okay with the tribe stepping in and doing that? The men's shelter board of directors?
I think I don't know if they've actually I don't know if they even know about it, to be honest. I think that he might have just been seeing that, or either if it was the board that brought it to his attention. We're gonna give him a quick phone call and ask him, or either we could try to figure something out.
I guess I think the board would just love, you know, anybody would appreciate a sponsored repair. The board does oversee the men's and women's shelter, and I know we had a, I don't remember what the issue was in the past, and we had asked what type of funding that they get, and the chair just wasn't willing to share their level of funding they get from outside sources. So we don't have a good idea of how much money they get, but that's not to say that they're rolling in it, you know, otherwise they would be able to, so it's a good discussion. I think we get it done, and then we motion and say we'll pay for it, and then we work with them respectively to say, may we enter the shelter that you manage.
Okay.
That's how I would go about doing it, just because if we're gonna be in their facility, I wanna, for our own protection, make sure that they're not gonna say, gee, you guys just made it worse.
Yeah.
So that's my comment, but I'm open. Isaac, or Eric?
Yes, I believe last year what the discussion was about was the electricity being hooked up in the women's shelter, but at this time, you know, we're getting into freezing temperatures, and I think that's a necessity that's needed. And I think that the board, regardless of where they get their funds, they would really appreciate that help that the tribal council would give. And like you said, that's our menfolk over there in need. And that's the epitome of why we're here, for our most poorest and helpless enrolled members in our community. And so I would like to make that motion to spend $441 on a water heater for our men's shelter.
Thanks, Eric. Would you also be willing to include that our facilities department would install that?
Yes, correct.
Okay. We have a motion by Eric. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Louis. Discussion. This is out of the tribal council, correct, Eric? Out
Yes,
of our
that's correct.
donation? Okay. We have a motion, we have a second. Any comments? Objection to the motion. Motion carried 7-0-0. Thank you, council. Our next, well, I think that brings us to our executive session item. The first family we'll hear from is in the room. So, and then from there we'll work our way down with the folks as they are in the packet. So, first, is there a motion to go into executive session?
Make that motion.
We have a motion by Eric. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Isaac. Discussion.
Do we want to give a little time to close everything out?
Oh yeah, we'll motion and then we'll
Okay.
Take 10.
So we're gonna motion to go into, we have a motion to go into executive session. We have a second, objection to the motion. Motion carried 7-0-0. We're in executive session at 6:59. The council that are on the Zoom or the go-to, will you please enter the executive session link and we'll close this one out. We might have to. We might have action.
Keep the link open.
Yep. So we are gonna take a 5-minute recess. You spoke it real fast. Well, we joined the executive session link and we get ready for that portion of the meeting. So see you in executive.